Today I want to show you a quick way to gather fabric using your serger. This is so simple to do. Take a look at this pillow. See how these edges are gathered? So what I did is I gathered all the fabric and then I created the pillow. So this is a great way to make your own fabric, or you could just add gathering to any fabric. If it's a skirt, the bottom of a bed, here's some more. These are gathered a little bit more than the last one. So you have a lot of options here. Let me show you how easy this is. Let me show you the settings I have my serger set up. I have 4 threads, so it's a 4-thread overlock. You could also do a 3-thread wide overlock, so I would remove this thread here and remove this needle, the far right needle. Then you could do 3-thread wide overlock. But I'm going to do 4-thread. The other adjustments we need to make, the stitch width can just stay the same. This is just a 5 stitch width. That's the standard setting for this machine. That will be fine. The main adjustments for gathering are the stitch length and the differential feed. And you'll have to adjust on your own serger until you get exactly what you're looking for, because depending on the fabric it could change. So I'm going to change the stitch length. Let's go with a 4.0, a little bit higher because I want a lot of gathering. And I'm going to change the differential feed to a 2.0, which is the highest setting. Next, here I have a special foot. This is called a gathering foot. This foot actually came with this machine, which is nice. So you can see there's a bottom area that's just flat. That's where the gathered fabric will go. And then there's this little louver through here. It's hard to see, but you can fit fabric right through that section. Let me just show you. If I were to take fabric just like this, it looks like a regular foot, right? But let me flip it this way. See how there's a silver bar at the bottom? So there will be another layer of fabric right here. That will be the part that will be gathered, and this top part will not be gathered. So that's all you have to remember. Let me go ahead and change the presser foot. There's a little knob right here that drops the foot. Make sure you keep the knife away from your hand. If you need to disengage the knife because you're worried, go ahead and just lift up and line the presser foot back up. One thing I want to point out is please make sure that your needles are in the up position when you do this. If you have to use the hand wheel, that's fine. If they're in the lower position when you change, you run the risk of breaking them. So there's our foot. I've already made my adjustments, so I have the differential feed at the highest. I have the stitch length at 4.0. The other thing I have here are 2 pieces of fabric. One is really long, about twice the length of the other. So the green layer is going to be gathered and the peach layer is not. Again, you can use any fabric and test your settings. As you stitch, you might want more gathers. I'm just going to show you the whole technique here and you have fun with this. So I'm going to start with the green layer first, and I just want to get it started. And you can actually see that it's already gathering, even though I don't have another piece above it. I'm just going to go a little bit more so you can see that. See all those little gathers? That's perfect. I'm going to guide in the second piece of fabric right through this layer right here that I showed you earlier. You might have to lift up your presser foot a little bit, slide the fabric through. I'll lift up my needle so I can get that in just a little bit further. And the needle is right in both layers of fabric now. Put your presser foot back down. Do a couple of stitches to make sure everything's going right. Continue stitching and make sure that you hold the fabric. Don't pull it, don't hold it tight, just allow it to surge. Allow it to run through the machine. You might need to use 2 hands. You could use one to hold the green and one hold the peach, because the main key is to make sure that all your fabric is lined up right here along this edge. Notice how it's cutting off both layers so the edge will be finished, and finishing the seam and gathering all in one. Let's see what these gathers look like. Oh, this looks fantastic. see how nice and thick these gathers are? Now again, you can adjust the stitch length or differential feed, and depending on the weight of your fabric, you might have some issues that you have to work with. One thing is, if you're using a really lightweight fabric, and let's just say that it's not gathering at all, you have the differential feed to the highest, you have the stitch length to the longest you can do, and it's still not gathering. Two things you can check. One, there's a knob up here on the serger. If you turn it to the left, this will raise this presser foot up, away from the feed dogs. I'm going to get my needles out of there real quick. If you turn it to the left, that's loose, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. If I turn it to the right, it's actually pushing this presser foot closer to the feed dogs. What difference does that make? Well, if you're using a lightweight fabric, these feed dogs need to push against this foot in order to gather that fabric. So just test it and turn it to the right a little bit more, and then try it with your fabric. And if it doesn't gather that time, then I have one more tip for you. When you're gathering fabric, remember, I'm just going to fold this over and run it through one more time. I want to show you one more little trick here. I'm going to start serging. Okay, and I'm going to run this layer through. Looks like I'm using the selvage, so. Okay, here's the trick. Remember I told you just to allow these two layers to feed through the machine without holding, just hold them, don't hold them tight or anything. If you've already turned the knob to the right and you're still not getting gathers, take this piece, and as you're stitching, just guide this piece in, the bottom piece, and the top piece, hold just a little bit. See how I'm giving it just a little bit of pressure? And when I do that, it's allowing that bottom piece to feed just a little bit more. I'm just going to serge off so we can see what we have here. So you can see how this fabric is even more condensed, which might be a bit much for this thick fabric, but on a thinner fabric, that's a little tip for you. So check the top for the knob of the presser foot height, the differential feed, and the stitch length. Again, I'm Angela Wolf. See you on BrotherSews.com for more sewing tips and tutorials.